everyone, I'm Martina and I'm with Scott Aharoni, and I hope the pronunciation is right. Yeah. And today we talk about the short Leylak that we present at the 39 Sulmona International Film Festival, and it is in the international category of our festival. I'm very happy to have Scott, and I'm start with the first question. And the first question that I would like to talk about is about the ending of the short, because in particular I want to talk about the Leylak's dedication, because the short is dedicated to the people who left us in this period of uncertainty. And I wonder what it's like to shoot in a period of uncertainty.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very interesting and troubling time, honestly. This was one of the first shoots. It was the first shoot that I was on since the pandemic hit, and about most of my crew was the first film they were able to hop on set as well for. So, there's a lot of new rules and regulations that we had to follow, or at least learning as we were actually shooting. And we wanted to make sure everyone felt safe and was able to stay in character, do their job at the right, at the highest level of their ability they can. And I think in ways it was scary, but at ways it also helped the film. A lot of time when you're shooting films, it's a fun experience. We're all laughing, giggling, whatever the case is, but it really made the whole set very, very serious, which helped the manner in which our film was about. And I think it helped the actors stay in character. I don't think any emotions were offset. I think everyone was still in the same mindset, especially the first day of shooting. We actually shot the cemetery scene, and it was like dusk. It was very dark out, and people were arriving to set. And then everyone was like, whoa, like this is real. And I think that was the most important thing, is that what we were experiencing simultaneously we're trying to capture on film. And I think all that put together was able to allow us to make the film we were able to make.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I want to talk about the opening scene, because it's very intense, and I think it was extreme to shoot, because there are the other characters, and this situation. So I think what is the feeling?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke a lot about what our first shot was going to be, and we had several different scenes. But at the end of the day, the only one that truly captured the zeitgeist of our time, the scene that truly captured, that brought an audience in, and because that first scene, it could be happening at any time. I mean, mass burials this is happening in world wars, and crazy other stuff that's happening in this world. But we wanted to create some type of inquisitiveness of what was going on, what time period is this. Obviously, the mask, as someone watching it nowadays will realize, it could be the pandemic, or it probably is the pandemic. But we wanted to not give too much away. We wanted to just literally kind of be a documentarian and kind of just set ourselves into this scene and, you know, follow this character, slowly learn about him, who he is, and kind of the time in which they were living in. So, during that whole process, when we actually arrived on set, because it took 2 days to actually build the whole thing, and we dug all the holes ourselves and so on and so forth. But when we arrived on set, like, we had to re-choreograph a lot of the camera movements and character movements, because when you actually arrive on this type of interactive set, and some people are not really used to tons of holes like that, especially for a camera team, they have to be, we actually had our boom guy, unfortunately, you know fall into a hole. And it was just some crazy stuff. But at the end of the day, it provided challenges that just made it that much more authentic for our characters to actually live in the environment and take it new, as we had to take it new. So I thought that was really spectacular.
You talk about the mask. So how does you directed your actor with mask? Because the short, the interpretation, the performers in the short are so delicate, and so touching. And I wonder, how do you bring up this emotion with an actor that take a mask?
No, of course. I mean, it's a great question, and the biggest thing as me as a director is that I really try to give the actors as much confidence as possible and as much leeway to do whatever they feel they need to do, whether it be improving it or just taking as much time as they want before we take it, go for a take. And you know, we spent a lot of rehearsal time, so they already knew what I wanted out of them. You know, so when we were on set, I just let them be them. Certain things were unscripted that happened. There were certain lines that were not scripted. But that's the beauty of what gave them the opportunity not to overact. People think you put a mask on and you have to be more to show more. But if you just are you, when we're all talking to other people, like sometimes with the mask, we're like, are they smiling? Are they not smiling? When you're capturing on camera and you have obviously context behind it, their eyes can say everything. And as a director, having the mask was something so interesting and so new that the challenge was how do you exude such emotion if you don't have this rest of the half of your face? But it was the body posture, it was everything else, and just focusing on the story, focusing on what they were feeling 24/7 and not really leaving that character. And whatever happened after that, however your body naturally happened. Most of those performances were, 1, 2, 3 takes and we were out. There was nothing overdone. So I think that was one of the coolest things is having that challenge, but that challenge actually made us focus and trust the process that much more. To not overthink what you have to do or what emotion you have to exude. You have to cry, you have to scream, you have to yell. It was just be you. And that was another way of forming the actual cinematography of as well as I just wanted the camera just to be with our characters. Nothing like go super close up or like, oh, they're crying, whatever the case is. Just live with them. And I think that's also gave the actors an opportunity just to live as well, because we weren't cutting after, all right, take 3 lines, okay, go to the next one. No, we were just living and just documenting their own lives that they were playing out.
Yeah. And I really like the interpretation of your lead character, your lead actor, sorry. And because, especially in an intimacy moment when he's out the door of his daughter, and it's so touching, it's so moving. I really love him. So, how did you work on emotional part of the character and of all the short?
Yeah, so we were so lucky that we had Nadir play our lead role, and he's an incredible actor. He's been all around the world as an indie guy. This was actually his first American film, which was super, amazing that we were able to be a part of that
Great
experience.
part. It's a great part for
Yeah, for sure, for
American
sure.
Pie.
No, for sure. And, you know, I think one of the biggest things that we benefited from was that as a cast, we became a family. And luckily, our little, rank, Isabella Haddock, her parents were so willing during the pandemic for us to be over there, have dinner with Nadir as well. And they just became like an uncle and a niece, a father daughter, really. You know what I mean? And they were able to connect at such a high level with us as well, being that hugging boundary, like, okay, guys, we're all one happy family. And we really became a family. So, talking about the emotions when he's outside the door, like, it's very easy to connect with each other because they actually really did care about each other. I mean, it was a couple of months we were doing this. And then him sitting outside the door, they actually had a conversation because Isabella said, what do I actually feel? Like, what do I actually do? Talking about the, other question is like, how do I show my emotions now without a mask? What do I do in this scenario where I find out that what I thought was, you've been lying to me, and now I know my mother you know, is no longer here. I mean, so we sat down all together and we just said, and we went through the whole process, and then and then I stepped away, and then I just saw them talking together, and just trusting your actors and letting them like find that happy medium between each other and find that trust between each other. allows them to give the performances that they gave.
Yeah, even the little girl, it's very good. It's so emotional. The scene out of the door is so, there is no words, and it's not it's not important. There is no
Yeah, I
word.
mean, no, of course, and that was another thing with writing the whole script is that we didn't want a lot of dialogue because one of the things I want to challenge myself is the visual medium. We just want to just watch and see. I mean, there's so much going on in this world. There's so much talking stuff, so many facts and this and this and this, but there's a whole other emotion that people are dealing with, and just letting that ride out, I think, was a very important aspect as well.
Yeah. And we start with the first question about the uncertain period. So, do you think that cinema can help people to overcome moments like the difficult one we're going through, and maybe finding yourself in that pain, and so feeling less alone?
Of course. Well, I think there's different forms of cinema that help people get through things. Ones that you can relate to, and ones that you can escape from. So if you're watching an action or a horror or a thriller, you kind of watch and you kind of escape reality. You dive into someone else's world, and you get attached to these characters, and kind of just that's what I do. My biggest escape in life is watching TV, binging a show for 10 hours straight, and just enjoying that process of just losing everything else in the world and just focusing on that one thing. And then there's other movies and other cinema that you can connect to, that if you have lost a parent, that you're able to share, or kind of like express your feelings, but by watching. Sometimes people don't like to express and vocalize how they actually feel. It's more of an internal process, an internal, self grief or self healing. And I think by watching cinema, watching someone else go through it, seeing what they were strong with or weak with, to find similarities with and say you're not alone, or find ways to strengthen oneself to say, oh, look what they did. I should do that too to feel better about myself, or to get me through a tough time. I think that's where the cinema comes into play, is that, we're all people at the end of the day, and we're watching people, even animation, even if they're not real live action, people, animation is a beautiful way of, you know, attaching yourself to emotions. I know there's a couple of animated films here at the festival this year that just touch on emotion, touch about death, touch about people who have cancer, wives passing away, and how they deal with it. But it's just the expression of how you actually get a very similar feeling that the whole world ends up feeling at one point or another. I think is the beauty of and the power of cinema.
Do you want to do a animated film?
I do. That's actually something that I have a ginormous passion in animation. I love animation, and it's
Yeah.
something I definitely will dive into, whether it's next year or 5 years or 10 years. It will definitely be something I encounter one time or another, because it is a brilliant medium that I am obsessed with.
I agree, and there are a few great animated short in the 39 Sulmona International Film Festival, so check it out. And thank you, Scott. It's a great interview, and I'm very happy to have the opportunity to talk about Leylak with you. So thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it, and hope you all enjoy it.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.